I want to take you to the skies now, where we find our reporter, our senior reporter, Dasen Thathiah, who is reporting from the sky to give us an update on what's happening on the ground across these affected areas in KwaZulu-Natal. Dasen, I see queues of people there. This is, in fact, a contrast to the visuals you were showing us from the sky a day or two ago, where all we saw was the trail of destruction. But we know that the cleanup operations have started. But I think what we're seeing now is people panicking and heading to the stores to buy foodstuff. What are you observing?
Well, Clement, we are seeing the second phase of what is starting to look more and more like an insurrection. It's a revolt, it's an uprising that has caused absolute chaos and mayhem, and what now we're seeing is ordinary citizens like this desperately trying to get food. You know, I often say, and I've been saying over the past few days, can you believe that we are having a conversation like this? 2021 South Africa. These are the types of scenes that we're seeing across the city. Currently, you're looking at Westville, and this is one of the shopping centers, a retailer that is open. Look at these queues. It is absolutely incredible the lengths that people have to currently go through just to get something as simple as a loaf of bread and milk. In some instances, we are told that they are only allowed to get 20 items. Now, what that basically would mean is that if you stood in this queue for 3, 4, 5 or 6 hours, you can only get those 20 items, and then you'd have to come back and do this all over again. And one of the reasons for that is to allow the supplies to spread as far as possible, because we know that many of the warehouses, many of the storage facilities have been damaged during this mayhem that we've seen. It's starting to look more and more strategic. It's gone beyond those scenes that we were reporting on initially, where you saw people running away with TVs and other appliances. And as I said, this is now the next phase. This also has the potential to cause problems within communities. It reminds us of what was happening prior to the lockdown, the initiation of lockdown last year. You'll remember that there was panic buying at that time. It later became a joke. People stocking up on toilet paper and whatever they could find. But right now, this is a very real concern. It's not an exaggeration, because just off to the side of this mall is the N3. And the N3, as you know, has been closed largely because of the potential for problems and the disruptions that we've been seeing. You would have seen the trucks that were burnt, the disruption to the supply chain on what is a very important trade route. It helps goods and supplies move in and out of the province, and that's where that feeling comes from, the feeling of all of this being so well orchestrated, so well planned, because apart from just items being stolen, after that, the warehouse and the place that stores these items is burnt. The trucks that transport these goods are torched. We're even finding situations where some cell phone networks are being compromised, in that, you know, we've seen this trend of batteries being stolen. There are just too many pieces of this puzzle that are now starting to come together, Clement.
When I spoke to you a day ago, Dasen, and you were giving us visuals, the aerial shots, and we were both observing together with our viewers the trail of destruction. You spoke about the hangover of all of this destruction and looting, and this is exactly the beginning signs of that hangover, where people are unable to go to work, and some of them have had to get away from work so they can go and queue up and get some important stuffs at particular shopping centers. Do we know how the KZN government is dealing with this, Dasen? Because people do believe that there may be food shortages, even though government has been reassuring us that you don't need to panic. It is not worse just yet. But if people believe there are food shortages, they're going to start going out there to panic buy, which may actually cause the very same thing they believe, but it's not necessarily happening.
Like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, Clement, and that's exactly what it's turning out to be. Because if you look at the queues, the queue you're seeing now is the queue for fuel, and that's also another major concern for many people, ourselves included. It takes us several hours to get fuel into our cars. One of our colleagues, Mfundo, at the office today was kind enough to take the vehicle out because we've been on the ground covering this, and it takes 2 hours to stand in that queue. So that's another thing. People now noticing that, hey, I've got half a tank in my car, but let me try and get into this line and fill up fuel. And while I'm on that topic of fuel, there was a video circulating earlier which shows you the extent of what is going on in KZN, in Gauteng, and it's that a fuel tanker was being transported by vehicles, by armed guards. And that shows you how even the fuel supply, although government has reassured us that it's not under threat right now, it shows us that there still is a real concern from those on the ground that it could be. And the supplies are being wiped out. We've seen garages around the Durban area where fuel is wiped out. We've stood in queues where, as you get to the front, the owners and managers have told us that there is no fuel. And to come back to what you're saying about panic buying, it's a similar situation, because now you're going to find that so many people are grabbing everything that's left on the shelves that it's going to take longer than usual to get it from other warehouses, those items back from other warehouses into the stores and into the shelves. So it's going to really, really be a long haul, Clement, and it's going to take many, many hours of people's time to get the most simple things. Something that you used to stop at a garage on your way home to get, you now have to wait 6 hours for in a line like this.